Hello, everyone. I'm Marcel Vanderweer, the editor of OHS Canada. Thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar, Connected Safety, a New Era of Gas Detection, will explain how industrial sites have evolved beyond gas detection to true connected safety. I'd like to introduce Shane McEwen. Shane is a product marketing manager with Blackline Safety in Calgary. He holds a BSc in electronic engineering and has been in the safety industry for more than 23 years. Shane will be joined by Yves Carrier, a business development manager at Blackline Safety. He's served with Blackline for 15 years, focused on helping clients with connected safety projects. Over to you, Shane.
Thank you, Marcel. I'll just give a little bit more background on us. Yves is Blackline Safety Business Development Manager. So he's got 15 years of experience with Blackline Safety, helping businesses solve real-world safety and operations challenges through focused project facilitation and change management support. He has a deep passion for understanding why and a dedication to help others find success. I'm Shane McEwen. I'm Global Product Marketing Manager here at Blackline Safety. As Marcel mentioned, I have a BSc in Electronic Engineering with over 23 years of experience in safety, with roles in senior product management, market management, and R&D roles. I've spent most of my career in the portables and fixed gas detection markets.
Thank you, Shane. So again, this is Yves Carrier. Blackline Safety's got a long history of providing our clients with real-time safety projects and initiatives, but really our vision is to transform the industrial workplace through connected safety technology. And with that vision, we have a purpose to ensure that every worker has the confidence to get the job done and return home safe. So Blackline Safety has been around since about 2004, 2005, and under the guidance of that vision and our purpose, we've garnered a lot of expertise in how we help clients through safety and productivity projects.
So although there have been many advancements over time, industrial operations are still plagued with safety and productivity challenges. Connected safety gathers data from a multitude of sources on workers and other devices to indicate in real time where events are occurring, and with live agent monitoring, safety is improved. Industrial sites are under constant pressure to balance a safe outcome with a productive operation. Data science is a crucial tool to provide insight, which helps optimize safety and productivity in real time and predict where challenges will occur. With Blackline Safety, discover how everyone can be connected so no one is left behind.
So really, and just pop back to that last slide for a moment, Shane. Really, everything that we're talking about is about time. So we've got a little title here that says, if a gas leak, health event, or injury occurred right now, how fast could you respond? And when you think of from a safety perspective, the speed of response can really change the outcome for an employee in distress. But you can link that time factor over to the productivity aspect as well. Now, what we're going to talk to you about today, you can roll the concepts of safety and productivity into an overall view of Industry 4.0 or digital transformation. Many of you may have heard these terms in the marketplace before. They're becoming a little bit of buzzwords, if you might allow that term. But what that means for Blackline Safety and how we apply that directly to safety and productivity aspects can be represented here by these three groups. So in the lower left, we really look upon connected safety as a real-time focused effort to ensure the safety of an at-risk employee. And then when you take that concept of connected safety and a real-time incident detection or event management, you can then roll the concept of real-time focus to connected worker. So how do you enable your folks out in the field to connect with the information that's important to them to help them do the job or to help them be safer? So this starts like looking at how you help employees collaborate across different projects or help them be efficient. So again, we roll from connected safety focused on an individual, a real-time focus, up to the connected worker and the different tools and capabilities you enable to facilitate the idea of connected worker within that Industry 4.0 mindset. And then you can roll that up to the connected workplace. So as you look at connected safety and connected worker and the different pieces of information or data or capabilities that you enable across your organization, you're now really talking about that connected workplace and what benefits you can provide your different projects or data integration across different groups within your organization to facilitate better decision making and really an effort to be more productive or efficient across your organization. So that's kind of the context of our discussion today, is within this Industry 4.0, connected safety to connected worker to connected workplace, and how you can balance that safety and the productivity across those different initiatives.
So to kind of talk about some of the challenges that you see on site today, combustible gas sensors fail without anyone knowing, leaving the site and the workers unprotected. Incident response teams are called to a missed check-in to find out that it was basically human error. There was no issues. Getting all your workers to report incidences is challenging, and even with technology today, it's not in real time. Is my equipment in proper operation? As it's a big challenge to keep it updated. There are small leaks at refineries and other industrial sites that over time will become dangerous ones. The challenge is identifying where incidences are likely to occur and solve the problem before it happens. With the Blackline safety solution, we can see where low-level gas events are occurring and when. We can collect where a cluster of incidences are happening and look for trends. Is there a common area that always causes the gas detector to false alarm? At Blackline Safety, we gather all this information together and turn it into actionable data that can drive down incidences and help you create a safer work environment. Let me show you how. So some common challenges with combustible LEL sensors today is that they can become poisoned and won't respond to an explosive situation. Testing the sensor with gas, or bump testing, gives some confidence that the sensor is working, but if a sensor was poisoned during the day between these bump tests, the device won't work, which can lead to serious consequences. Infrared sensor technology cannot be poisoned, but does not see all combustible gases like hydrogen and acetylene. So there are various hydrocarbons that can be present at many industrial sites at the same time, especially at a site like a refinery where you can see gasoline, jet fuel, and other hydrocarbons all at that same facility. So typically an LEL sensor is calibrated to know a gas like methane, and then correction factors it's calibrated to methane, and then correction factors are used to estimate the concentration of the combustible gas that's being measured. For example, let's say propane. So in that example, as the monitor is being moved around the facility, if it now encounters xylene at a combustible level, it's going to try to react, but it's being tuned to propane. That's a correction factor in it. So what often happens is that there is an alarm, people evacuate from the area, and then if you look at it later, you'll find out that actually that wasn't in need of an evacuation. It wasn't at a dangerous enough alarm level. But because that detector is tuned at a specific gas, because the assumption is that's what it's going to encounter, that's the best it can do. That's just the way that catalytic bead and infrared technology is today. So now looking at a new technology, the molecular property spectrometer, or MPS sensor, it can't be poisoned. It measures a wide range of combustible gases all at the same time. So it's not just one gas that it's measuring, and it quickly identifies which hydrocarbons it's measuring. So it gives basically a one-to-one reading for multiple gases, but it also categorizes it. So that's another big advancement in the technology. So you actually have an idea of what you're measuring. It's from an infrared and a catalytic bead, which is the sensor technology that's been used in the past. It doesn't give you an idea of what you're seeing. You have to make that decision and tell it what it's going to see or what's in that area. So big giant leap ahead in gas detection technology. This is, I think the largest leap that we've seen in about 40 years. So the fact that we actually have a system that's not poisoned and sees multiple gases at once is incredible. So all that data is sent back to Blackline Live, which is the software package, and then you can start to see on a map where the workers are when they're getting hit with gas, and you can see what types of hydrocarbons you're seeing. So, really powerful information that's coming back. And Blackline Safety is the only company right now that offers this in a portable or an area monitored gas detector. So once that measurement has occurred, usually it's leading, if it's an alarm state, it's an evacuation. So, what's Blackline doing about evacuations? Well, when they take place, they need to occur obviously as quickly and as safely as possible. The command center needs to direct large groups of workers away from an incident. So with the G7 and the G7XO, our area monitor, you'll get messages that come right up on the screen of the devices that can help you manage that large evacuation. So you're basically telling a whole group where to evacuate to, and very seamlessly and efficiently. In real time, you can see how the evacuation is going. So on a map, you can see how people are moving through the facility. And then if you find an area, maybe you have one individual that has stopped moving for some reason, you can reach out to them to try to understand. But if they need some help, maybe you can send an evacuation team to them. So make sure that everybody is evacuated properly. Now, once the evacuation is complete, let's say that this was a training exercise, you can see how efficient the evacuation was. What were the mustering routes that were used? How long did it take for the evacuation to occur? So the intent is that you can kind of do a lessons learned on that test, on that evacuation, and say, how do I become more efficient? How do we evacuate better? Maybe I find that a certain group, I want them going to a different area because there's a bottleneck in that evacuation. So the goal is to learn from that training experience and understand how do you more efficiently evacuate. When we look at emergency response, so typically what's happening in this scenario is somebody misses their check-in, the supervisor's concerns, and then they reach out again and check in. This can take a couple hours, and then eventually it leads to that awareness that the person's not checking in. We don't know where the person is typically in that situation, so it's a real big challenge. When we look at the Blackline solution, it's all connected. So what happens is if there was a gas release detected, it's above a certain alarm set point, that's immediately brought into a live monitoring group, whether it's your group that's monitoring or Blackline has a monitoring team. So within minutes, the person is, we've basically tried to communicate with them. We know exactly where they're located. We know what the gas release was. And then if there's the need, evacuation team, response teams can be initiated, sent to exactly to that location. So it's a much different situation knowing exactly where the worker is and what gas readings they've been exposed to. And then also you can communicate with the worker through the Blackline equipment. So, it's considerably improved just knowing where the worker is and exactly what they've been exposed to. So coupled with that, to improve the safety experience, this is something that is core to Blackline safety. So we've seen that we really want to have a solution end to end. So we have built a world-class emergency response management group. We have dedicated people that are on the phone 24/7, 365 days a year. We've monitored over 25,000 workers across the world, really with that intent to immediately respond to an incident. So within, on average, within about 60 seconds, we've responded to that incident. We've documented everything around that. So then you post-incident can basically review with us what happened so that you can work on making sure it doesn't happen again. Really the intent is for us to focus on that safety portion where you can focus on your operations. Now we also have the ability to have, with software, for your group to be able to self-monitor. So really it's a similar piece of software. During a communication, you can basically monitor your team to see what's going on, and then you can update them as far as the incident's going. If you need to send in emergency response personnel or create escalation paths with employee information. The Blackline experience also is really around communication. So during an emergency, communication is critical. Has the worker fallen down, or do they need to relay critical information? So if in need, these devices have two-way communication. You can talk through them, you can text, or if there's an emergency situation, you can pull this red alert latch, and that's immediately going to set up a communication live communication with the person on the other side of the line. So there's really lots of scenarios where communication is needed and they may not have access to a radio or some other piece of communication equipment. And we've looked at it that communication path is really critical for any emergency situation. So we've built that right into the devices so you can have that two-way communication path. Now, when we look at, after an incident has occurred, what's really critical, whether it was a major or minor event, the goal is to investigate it so that it doesn't happen again. So you can basically stop that from, happening in the future. One of the big values with the Blackline system is all data is recorded. So most gas detectors that are used today have limited information stored on their device, the data logger, and it really only gives you a glimpse of the incident. So it's, let's say it's the last week or so of data, or they're just minor events that are recorded. With the Blackline equipment, it's basically recording all data from day one. So as soon as that monitor was turned on, that portable gas detector, it's recording everything up to the cloud. So you get a really good history when you have to do that investigation. You know exactly where the worker was on a map. You can look at a breadcrumb trail and see where they were 20 minutes, half an hour before. With area monitors in the area, the G7XO, you can see exactly what other gas events were going on in the area. But it's not just the high-level gas events. Maybe there were some low-level gas events that are occurring. So it's really trying to pull together that full picture. Was the equipment bumped and calibrated? Where was the worker? You're trying to pull together that full information packet so that you can really investigate this and understand, what has occurred. Again, with the intent to make sure that it doesn't occur again. So there's that full view, very rich amount of data to be able to go through that investigation. As we look at the future, the goal is to be predictive. So what we're really trying to do is with this data is to be able to help you identify areas where an incident is going to occur. So it's not just a post-investigation or an evacuation, it's trying to get to a point where you're seeing where things are going to occur and try to stop them before it happens. So Blackline is pulling in a myriad of data, worker location, small gas releases that aren't alarm events, what's the level of the gas detector, its operation, has it been bumped, has it been calibrated, any two-way communications that have gone on. Maybe there's no motion events or even fall detection events. So this grouping of safety data is being pulled in real time into our software. And then we start looking at that to look for trends, or we're looking for situations where there's grouping of events. So you might have a common event where maybe there was a false alarm in a certain area, and it keeps occurring over time. So you don't know exactly maybe what's going on in the area, but you can at least tell a worker, if possible, avoid that area, because maybe you've proven that it is a false alarm. But maybe also in a certain area, at a certain time of the year, you see that there's a lot of falls in that area, and that's because of ice. So maybe a certain area ices, and then when it hits a certain point during the year, you can put down an anti-icing agent. So the goal is to pull in, a myriad of information to start looking at these trends and groupings. And that's something where we have a data sciences group, our Blackline Vision group, that can help you with that, to look for these opportunities to say, this is somewhere where you need to start maybe paying some more attention, because we can see that something's going to happen from a safety perspective. It also gives you the opportunity to coach your personnel. So you might have an incident where there was a release. Once you've investigated it, you found out that maybe a worker had opened up a valve to take a measurement and they shouldn't have. But you're also finding that that's a common practice that maybe has come through from the past. So you can work with that team now and say, I can see that this is going on. Maybe this is not the right place to be doing it. You want to be sampling it from another area because it's just not safe. So this is the value with the Blackline experience, is all the data that's coming in and being able to have that predictive awareness so you can stop the incident before it's going to occur. Now, when we look at from a compliance standpoint, one of the key things is your equipment working and is it in proper operation, right? So we are all aware of the bumping of this system, making sure you're hitting it with gas and that it's in good proper order, but also calibrating the devices to make sure they're working. Even though process and procedures tell employees when to do it and how often, it still doesn't always get done. And that information is not always at your fingertips. And with the Blackline solution, it is. So all that data is immediately real time reported up to the software package Blackline Live. So you can pull a report, you can look at the data to see who is not bumping and calibrating the device. So you kind of have that real world visibility. Just like if there's an incident, you know real time. You don't have to wait until the detector has been docked. Or in some cases, we all know that some workers just choose not to. They find that it's a challenge, or they just feel it's not that important. So the safety group often does not have visibility into what's going on. With the Blackline equipment, they do. So all that data through the cloud, through cellular and satellite connectivity is immediately reported up. So you always have visibility, by the second of what's going on at your facility, and then you can mitigate it before it becomes an issue. One of the other challenges that the market sees today is if a firmware release is sent out. So imagine a scenario, and these happen, every year at a facility. You can have 1,000 gas detectors where a firmware update came out. And that can be pretty challenging. So you basically, tell the group, I want everybody to come in and dock their detector. Typically takes 3 to 4 minutes per detector, and get the firmware upgrade. So it's kind of a hassle. You're trying to manage that amongst the larger team. They're all bringing it in. You have to keep track who's been updated and who hasn't. But that can be a full day experience, or over a few weeks. It's definitely very time consuming. And in a lot of cases, that is very challenging to the point where it's just not done. So what happens then is, if that was a critical update that need to occur on the gas detector, it didn't occur, which means the gas detector is maybe not going to be in proper operation, or there might be some issues. With the Blackline experience, all that information is automatically, the firmware is automatically updated through wireless as soon as it's available. So we check with you, make sure that it's going to get sent out to your group, and then we update it, and it basically just goes out seamlessly. So that's really making sure that your equipment is always at the latest level, it's always in good operation, and there's no challenges with it. So when we look at connected worksite that Eve was talking about earlier, from a safety perspective, all of your data at the worksite is brought in. You have area monitors that are bringing in the data. And then as we move into the connected worker, all that data is brought into, right? So we've talked about your gas detection readings, your fall detection, as the person falling down, is it no motion? So there's a myriad of information that's being pulled in, as well as all the gas data. So one of the things that Blackline does is pulls in heat maps. So I'll kind of explain that a little bit. At a site, we're not just pulling in alarm data, but we're also pulling in those low-level leaks, because we know that a low-level leak can become a dangerous leak. So the point of the data is to gather that and really start to indicate that there are certain areas where a low-level leak needs to be fixed so that it doesn't become that dangerous leak and affect the workers or the plant. All that data is being monitored through our monitoring center, or if you choose to self-monitor, and then it's all brought into the cloud. So we can start looking at how to gain real-time visibility in your operations, which is a challenge today from a safety perspective. Be predictive and really shape safe behavior. So I'll like to turn it over to Eve, and we can continue on from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. So as you're all looking at this connected worksite slide, and I know we've talked a lot about the gas detection portion of what Blackline safety can bring to a connected worksite. Just to give you a little bit of history on Blackline and how we got to where we are today. We actually started out doing lone worker safety monitoring systems for at-risk employees. So basically, we wanted to remove the manual check-in procedures that people were using to manage lone workers out in the field, and we replaced those manual check-in procedures with automated real-time safety initiatives that had different layers of safety, like man down, no motion, panic latch people could pull, check-in timers, and location information attached to those layers of safety. And over time, we listened to the feedback from our customers who were using our lone worker devices, and we're also using gas detectors. So a lot of our customers for lone working were in the energy industry, gas distribution, electricity distribution, oil and gas refineries, or oil and gas field service. But a lot of our customers were carrying gas detectors, and they're carrying a gas detector on one shoulder and a lone worker device on the other shoulder. And many of our customers who had a focus on the connected worksite or the connected worker asked us to combine those two types of technologies because it would help them minimize the number of tools that were being carried by employees, but maximize the access to the data, right? So they said, hey, you can give us real-time visibility in the case of a lone worker event, but if I have a man down, why are they down? Like, that's a really important question to answer. If you have a man down because they've had a heart attack, that's a much, much different response than a man down because of an H2S gas cloud. So if we can provide an organization visibility that they have a man down, and the reason might be because of an H2S gas cloud, because we've combined the gas detector and the lone worker device, or the at-risk monitoring, real-time safety device, into one system, then you have more information at your fingertips that allows you to respond appropriately. Because I can, if anyone on the call here today is in the oil and gas industry and understands H2S, like, you don't run into an area to help when there's an H2S gas leak. You have a specific response protocol that you need to adhere to in suiting up appropriately for an H2S a gas situation. But someone having a heart attack, that's different. So having the access to the data in a timely manner empowers you with an appropriate response. And that's kind of just rounding out what Shane was talking about with the connected worksite and safety and connected worker, really what we're trying to help everyone with. But again, just for everyone to understand, we have systems that are gas detectors. We have systems that are real-time safety monitors that don't do gas detection. And then we have the ability to combine those two capabilities into one device. So it just so happens that we're really, a lot of our focus is on the gas detection, because there's been a big push in the energy industry to take those important safety tools of gas detectors that have a lot of compliance and rules and such behind how they're used in the workplace, and giving our customers access to that data so they can better meet the risk mitigation requirements around gas detection and at-risk employees. So just to move along here from the safety discussion, I want to talk a little bit more about an operational excellence. Some of you have heard that buzzword in the industry, but really, if you start looking at operational excellence, it's really finding that balance, or optimizing the approach to safety and efficiency. So this has been really a bit of a passion project for me over the years, as I've been helping clients through the Industry 4.0 or digital transformation. I've been working with a lot of folks at, let's say, the field level, supervisors, managers that are directly in touch with the employees. But at the same time, I work with a lot of senior managers, let's say at the corporate level, VPs, director levels. And a lot of times there's a little bit different perspective on what digital transformation means at those different initiatives. So one thing I've learned in helping people deploy lone worker devices or connected gas detection devices or emergency evacuation systems, one thing I've learned over the years in doing that is the change management around introducing technology for a safety purpose is really important to pay attention to. So typically the project and the budget approvals that you need when you're doing a technology implementation or a change in how you approach lone working or connected gas detection, you need those budgetary approvals from fairly high up in the organization. So because Industry 4.0 or digital transformation is still kind of in the the corporate push, the corporate initiative, and many companies are trying to figure out, how do we enable that at the field level? There's a lot of collaboration that needs to happen throughout the various levels of responsibility or different stakeholders in an organization. So what we've learned at Blackline Safety is helping folks like yourselves who are on the phone understand how you can talk about added value or different types of capabilities in the tools that you're deploying, or how these tools operate with other tools, is really important to the conversation. So to help justify the real-time safety investment, you need that added value from the technology. So from there, the business case and how you present the deployment of technology for efficiency or technology for productivity or technology for safety efforts or all three together, that business case is really important. And how you invest in connectivity or connected worker across the sites really rolls up to the data that you're looking to gather. And whether that's historical data or real-time data, what you're doing with the data and the insights you receive from the data is really key to the conversation. And this is one of those things we've learned, right? How do we help you guys have that conversation with different stakeholders about what that balance of safety and productivity looks like and what's the business case? So we really focus on the insights and the making the data work for you, because if we simply enable you with a real-time safety device that gives you data, that might not help you, right? So providing you insights from the data is really solving some of the problems that you might have in your day-to-day activity. So when we start talking about productivity as added value to the safety systems, leveraging the location capability we have, we've heard from folks that they're asking about contractors on site. Are our contractors on site in compliance with the hours of work that they're supposed to be doing? Or how often are teams entering high risk zones or red zones? Or where can you find slowdowns in productivity or bottlenecks? So looking at the data that you can collect, we really focus with a customer on the type of operations that they have and what general activities happen day to day, and really get to an understanding of what data do you currently collect, what data do you want to collect, where do you see gaps, and then helping you figure out how to manage that data in a timely fashion. And we've got a whole Blackline Vision data science team that really works with you to look at the data, create hypotheses on what you're looking to understand, test those hypotheses, gain insights, and then provide you those insights back to help you improve the processes. So where we really look to focus on that stuff, we've seen a lot of requests from the project planning industry within energy or industrial oil and gas necessarily. So turnarounds, construction projects, these types of things. So these challenges here are kind of specific to those things. However, we see these challenges presented in small efforts to increase efficiency or productivity as well. But generally, these challenges that you're trying to overcome are shorter planning phases with less staff and lower budgets. Your craft or your people that are doing work are distracted, right? So a lot of time is spent wanting to get the right information to the right employee at the right time, right? So you want to improve the time that your employees are focused on doing the work that they're supposed to be doing rather than going to gather data to help them do the work. The filling out of forms or managing their gas detectors manual in the field with bumps and calibrations, or downloading the data from the gas detectors. So you want to remove all of those inefficiencies to allow your employees to focus more on doing the work that they should be doing. The length of time is another challenge that comes up a lot. So taking the insights and the learning and applying that learning to the current project is a challenge. So we're helping customers minimize or shorten the length of time that it takes to take the data and the insights and apply those to the project at hand rather than waiting to the next project. And then another challenge we hear frequently is this obscurity. So your visibility of what's going on at the front line or at the work front or where your employees are providing you value, you don't have a lot of real-time capability. Or even if you do have real-time, the amount of data channels that you have is limited. So being able to collate those data channels into better insights is something that we hear a lot of a challenge that people would like us to solve. So again, this just rolls over to these limitations of early digital work sites. So some of the challenges that we're trying to help you overcome. So you see, a narrow focus is something that's a challenge within digital work sites, which is why we're trying to have that safety and productivity conversation, right? We want to have it not be a narrow view. We want to have it a wide view of taking a technology stack and applying the value to that technology to both productivity and a safety effort. Multi-vendor deployments or departments is difficult for our customers to manage, right? They don't want a different vendor for safety than for productivity. It would be beneficial for one vendor to be able to provide those two capabilities so that you can minimize the interaction with vendors or the different types of technology that you're having your employees use, and that helps speed up your deployments. When you start talking about deployments themselves, there's a lengthy process for infrastructure to interface management. So how do you get data? You got to deploy things into your infrastructure to gather the data. You have to deploy tools to your employees. There's change management around how those tools are used. So helping with that limitation and the deployment aspect and making deployments faster and easier is an important thing for you to consider, an important thing for you to ask from vendors like ourselves, and how we can help you be more efficient and productive with the deployment of a digital worksite. And then things tend to not be scalable. So technology implementations sometimes are site specific, or the design is not considered to have economies of scale so that you can apply them to other sites, or the infrastructure that's used to gather data, or tracking devices that you might use are very site focused. So there's not really an ability to take that technology off of one site or workflow and apply it to another workflow. So we have a very focused view on understanding how we can take learning and apply it to other situations. So I'm going to quickly speed through some of the real things we do to help people through this. So we really focus on an end-to-end solution. So to deliver insights to people faster, we focus on having subject matter experts work with you on the specific insights that you want and deliver those insights to you faster. So an example there is we might have an HSE SME help you with that has a gas detection focus, look at the micro exposures of fugitive emissions for gas releases, and help you look at our heat maps and understand where those things might be happening to provide you those insights faster. Or if you're looking at a construction or turnaround project, we have construction and turnaround subject matter experts that understand how a project should flow and get you those insights faster. So we embed the expertise within the project, not just providing you data, but providing you a faster way to insights. And then we do this through cloud analytics and an integrated stack using our wearables that people are carrying in the field. So we're minimizing the amount of vendors you need to work with to get access to the data. Sorry, Shane, my N is not working. Just, yeah, there we go. So what you guys gain is, again, a safety device, or that's a 6-in-1 wearable, right? So it can be a communications device for push-to-talk radio, or it can be emergency communications, or a man-down safety monitoring system for at-risk employees, or a gas detector, or an emergency evacuation device. So a lot of capability within one device. Transparency and line of sight to the front line. So we're collating all that data into one or two dashboards that provide you better insights of what's going on, and helping with that productivity and removing roadblocks and debottlenecking the workflows and the access to the data. And really at the end of it, we're helping you review more quickly and in real time almost your access to the data and what you expect to happen versus what's the reality happening at the work front. So this is just we'll go through a couple quick slides here identifying specific reports that we've provided for different clients. And really these reports are to solve this billion-dollar problem that you see up here on the screen. So generally there's been an increase in the efficiency of projects through a bunch of different industries, except generally for construction. But you can take the learning on construction and apply it to a bunch of different models and use cases throughout the industry on how projects are run. But to help clients with this billion-dollar problem of how they're changing projects to be digital projects, I'm going to show you a few different real reports that we've pulled from Worksites. I'm going to fire through this fairly quick. We want to have a Q&A session here at the end that will open up to everybody. So right now up on screen is a real-time construction and maintenance efficiency report that we did for a client. So really this shows you the time in hours spent in different work zones within a large construction, or actually this was a turnaround project. So the challenges that we're meeting here are businesses are lacking a detailed awareness of workflow, and then project financing seeks technology to provide economies of scale across capability from a location-enabled safety technology, right? We talked about that earlier, the balance of safety and productivity. So we're using the safety technology location awareness. If someone's hurt, you want to know where they are in real time so you can get help to them as quickly as possible. But that doesn't happen very often, right? Like safety events generally are fairly rare, thankfully, but when they do happen, you want to respond quickly at the right location. So we take that location capability and we leverage the technology stack to give you location awareness on people in aggregate across a facility. And we use that location awareness to help you understand where people are spending time. And again, this is just one great way that we're helping companies save money in getting that balance of safety and productivity. So you start looking at that in detail, and you can generate patterns of movement or look at this movement and efficiency. So we can start quantifying based on a client's communicated key performance indicators of what efficiency means to them. We can quantify how your project is doing from an efficiency standpoint. So on screen here is really a view of what someone deems as productive versus non-productive time or time spent in an area. And then we're quantifying that to show them how their project is doing. And in this graph here, you can see it, there's a slight uptrend to the productivity in average over time. So that's generally what you want to see within a project, is that uptrend in productivity over time as people learn throughout the length of the project. But what we're providing to organizations is real data so that they can prove and understand that that's actually happening. And if it's not, we can help them drill down to specifically where it might be, where they might be losing some efficiencies. So this next graph is a real graph that we use to show clients how people flow from their ramp up zone to their laydown zones to their construction work areas. So the yellow graph there is trailer zone, so where generally people tool up and have their HSE meetings before they start a shift. And then you can see people moving from those zones to the laydown zones to the work front zones. And again, we're really using data to help people quantify how people are flowing through the project. Now, I will shout out here right now that a lot of times the location of people is very sensitive. So you might not want to know where an individual is because, let's say, the union within the project doesn't want the location of an individual to be known by management, but the location of people in aggregate is very important to the workflow orchestration or the workforce orchestration. So we can remove the names of people from locations so that an organization really has a view of the flow of people and not individuals, and maintain the privacy of that location data. Now, when you're starting to talk about the flow of people within a site from a productivity standpoint, you can really take that knowledge and apply it to a safety aspect, right? If I want to look at the flow of people from a safety aspect, where can we provide value to people within that technology stack? So what you see on screen here is a supervisor to worker ratio. So one of our clients had a gut feeling that if a HSE supervisor or even a operations supervisor spent more time in an area where employees were located, that the incident rates were reduced. And they didn't know that for sure, but they asked us to help quantify that gut feeling. And this graph is actually showing you the ratio of time spent by a supervisor in different areas of the facility where employees were working. And where those exclamation marks are, is you can see a dip in the ratio, and we were actually able to overlay when incidents happened with a correlation to there was less time spent by supervisors in that area with the employees. Now, to get a better understanding of why that was, we'd have to spend some more time with the client and look at other data sets that we might be able to find correlations. But this was a real instrumental effort with us and a client to take that workflow productivity from an efficiency standpoint and apply it to a safety aspect. And again, we're using the same technology stack. We're just looking at different KPIs and perspectives to help people with different insights that they were looking to understand. So here's just another movement pattern report that we did for a client. So we're showing a client how quickly it takes people to transition from one zone to another. And we're able to quickly identify different areas or different parts of the project where it took people longer to transition to work. And we were able to help this client, and this actual report here, help people understand that one of the lunch areas that was set up was too far from the work face. And we were able to show to them with data that that was the case. And they made a simple change to the location of a lunch area to reduce the transition time from lunch to work, saving that project some important dollars. Now, when you start talking about, we spoke earlier about the integration across different data sets and vendors. So this report here really shows how we helped one client who had a billing system, and we had our solutions on different contractors on site, and we helped create a compliance to hours on site required report, if for I guess lack of a better explanation, but really the main client wanted to understand if this vendor, or sorry, this contractor gives us a bill for 100 hours of work, what was their time spent on site? And if it's within 95% of the bill, then when that was one of the levers that they would flick to yes to say it was okay to pay an invoice. So we integrated our system with their billing system or their scheduling system to help them understand and better account for time spent on the project. So all of those reports really just helps you understand at a higher level the digital worksite solution and all the different data points and data focuses that you might want to look at to help you get more value out of your safety and your productivity requirements. So we really are looking to help everyone understand worksite behavior to drive continuous improvements in your safety and your productivity, whether that's head counts, scheduled versus actual time in work areas, site layout optimization, that supervisor to employee safety aspect of knowing that people need to spend time in areas to help and mentor employees on the right way to do work and safe ways to do work, finding reasons for idling, whether it's permits, weather, equipment, and finding that those other added value important points like push to talk radio on a project. We help people in the past not use their emergency radios as often and use the push to talk capability within our safety devices to allow employees to speak back and forth on non-critical information like, hey, when you're at the tool crib, grab those tools for me. So people are really able to find a lot of added value from the different tools we provide through our safety monitoring and workflow productivity solutions. And really, again, another aspect back on the safety is that mass notification and evacuations, right? So just the flow of people through a site becomes very, very focused in an evacuation, right? If you look at what technology need to facilitate emergency evacuations, it's really just a workflow through a site, but in a real focused real-time aspect. So hopefully this information has given you a little more visibility as to how a connected worksite, connected worker, connected safety can help with a safety and productivity aspect and finding that nice balance. And Shane, unless you had anything else to add, I think we can open it for some questions at the end.
All good on my side, Eve.
So Marcel, Kate from OHS, thank you very much for the opportunity to present here. I'm wondering if any questions have popped up from the audience while we've been chatting for the last few minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Shane and Eves. That was a great presentation. And we do have a few questions from the audience. So I think we have about 10 minutes for questions. And this came up during your part of the presentation, Shane, but someone asked, can this system detect anhydrous ammonia?
Yes. So the portable gas detectors can be included with an ammonia sensor, or additionally can be fitted with a photoionization sensor to pick up ammonia. The preferred method would be the ammonia sensor, but it can kind of use both sensors.
Okay, great. A second question that came up in your portion, Shane, was in the event of a leak, how much time do you have to rescue the exposed worker?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really dependent on the situation. I mean, H2S would be completely different from, let's say, a carbon monoxide. So it's really dependent on what they're being exposed to or the situation. But I think one of the really critical pieces is location of where they are, because if you're sending in a response crew, they need to know exactly where they're heading, and the GPS information can give that out. So I think it's really dependent on the source and the direction of where they're heading to grab that person.
Thanks. Likely for you, Eves, someone asks, can you combine data from multiple vendors' wireless monitors around the plant?
Yeah, that's definitely something we are able to do. So Blackline has some different API setups. So our data can be shared to other vendors, but we also can send the data into our client systems or receive data from other systems. So we've approached the insights that we provide from data and kind of the KPI dashboards that we set up to be agnostic to us as a vendor. So we can pull in data from a bunch of different data sets and line those up alongside different sensor sets, if you will, for sure.
Okay.
And we've successfully done that with others in the past. So obviously a lot more detail around that answer, but they can reach out to us after the fact.
Sure. Yeah, some more technical questions here. Someone asks, what plume tracking software is used?
So I guess the way I would ask it is, what plume modeling software do you want to use? So again, like Eve had mentioned, we work with a lot of application programming interfaces or APIs with software. So we can pull in data from a lot of different systems. So really, I think that the way I look at it is there hardware that you're using today that you want to pull data in, and then we can look at how that integrates in with our system.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few different plume systems out on the market, so we wouldn't want to, focus ourselves on any one specifically. So like Shane says, we can provide that data to any of those systems really, and provide a customer a bespoke solution that really helps them with what they're looking to understand from those plume modeling platforms.
Okay. Yes, a few more questions yet. This one says, do the reports track user training? I think that was from your portion, Eves.
Yeah, that's definitely an element that we've talked to clients before. So, one way would be, is there a correlation between the training received by contractor A and the training received by contractor B and the number of events seen? So we definitely have worked with clients to look at different report structures or training time to find correlations with other pieces of data.
All right. How about this one? Is the monitoring working is the monitoring working in the enclosed buildings where GPS signal is not available? So does the monitoring work? Yeah.
Yeah, very good question. So there's two aspects there. We use a direct to cloud cellular connection for our device to connect to the network. So generally cellular exists within buildings, and where it doesn't, we've lots of customers who put up cell boosters and the like. We also have a different solution set that provides a local area network base station to provide connectivity within buildings where cellular doesn't exist. Now that's connectivity. That question that you just asked was a little bit more specific to location capability. So our location technology stack is separate from our data connectivity stack, and we have two ways to provide location. So one is through GPS, which functions very well outdoors, but as that question just alluded to, GPS doesn't work great indoors, or if it does show you someone's location on a building, if that building has 4 floors, how do you know which floor they're on? So we have a location technology separate from GPS, which is proximity beacons. So you can optionally deploy proximity beacons within your facility. They're very low cost Bluetooth-based beacons that provide you awareness on where someone is in a facility when GPS doesn't work. So we definitely can meet those needs.
Great. Okay, I think we have time for a couple more yet. Someone asks, do you have an area monitor yet?
I'll take that one. Absolutely, we've just launched. I would say it's very cutting edge and one of the best, if not the best, out there. It's called the G7 EXO. And it's got some amazing values around it. Again, like our other products, it's connected through cellular and then optional satellite. So all the data is always coming back, and it's got 100+ day battery life. So any situation you throw at it, you basically can have it last for that situation, and you're not constantly swapping out monitors because they're only lasting like 5 or 7 days. So yeah, it's an excellent G7 EXO.
Yeah, and the EXO really highlights that balance of safety and productivity or efficiency. So if you look at how area monitors traditionally are used, you have to swap them out and switch them a lot because of the battery life. So our focus on the battery life with the EXO was really to provide our clients that real-time safety view, but reducing the cost of managing the devices, which ties right back to that productivity or efficiency and finding that balance of that safety and lower cost efficient systems.
And just one last point on that to add to the EXO, it's using that MPS sensor. So I kind of spoke about how that's revolutionary, and from a combustible sensor standpoint, where they typically get poisoned, this equipment, this area monitor, the EXO, has got that MPS sensor. So really, all that information we kind of spoke about is in that package for an area monitor.
Yep. I'll add, these are very on point questions. I'm happy to hear these questions. They're awesome. Keep going, Marcel.
Great. I'm trying to decipher this question, but let me know if this makes sense. Can this system be connected to the fire panel if we want to monitor ourselves? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'll answer that. So typically, there are all kinds of fire or alarm system companies out there, like a lot, right? It's a very mature industry. The connectivity from those is typically like wired, and you'll have access to the panel, if you will, either virtually or a panel on the wall. So we can 100% take the data from our systems and integrate it into whatever systems you have to monitor those alarms. So depending if it's wired, like a physical panel or a virtual panel, there'll be some different complexities, but we do certainly have the real-time APIs available to facilitate those integrations.
Okay. I think we can squeeze this last one in. This is pretty technical, but someone asks, can this provide BI and ROI tracking?
BI and ROI tracking. Whew. I'm going to do a quick Google search on what they might mean by BI and ROI tracking.
So I think
Or do you know, Shane?
business, and yeah, I think it's business intelligent and return on investment. So I think what they're looking at is from probably the productivity standpoint, is there a way for them to kind of show that, what are the savings that this software or vision will give us?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I was thinking of a technical term, not a more of a business term. But yeah, 100%. So we've actually created KPI numbers for our clients related to the efficiency of the project. So for example, the number of hours used of devices to, hours saved from productivity efficiency on a project, and coming up with a KPI metric for our clients to help quantify the actual ROI of the system. So, one of the specific ones was that scheduling compliance, right? So we know on a past project that if we got billed $1,000, 30% of it was not really productive work. But with the integration of our systems over to a scheduling software, we can come up with a new KPI number that shows you that your billing or amount paid on a project is X. So you can create some deltas there and figure out what the return on investment in the technology is from a project management standpoint, related back to your KPIs. So it gets a little complex, but that's 100% something we've been doing.
And I was just going to
Great.
add a point here, going forward, if there's any additional questions, further out that we didn't answer today, you can get us at sales@blacklinesafety.com, and we can make sure that any of your questions are fully covered.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, I was just going to mention that as well. That it's 2 o'clock so Eastern, so that's all the questions we have time for. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. If you do have a question you'd like answered, as Shane said, the email is on the screen now. Thank you all. Thank you, Shane and Yves. Hope you all have a great day.
All right, thanks
Thank you very
everyone.
much, Marcel. Everyone have a great day. Thank you.